Gage Gubrud, a quarterback from Eastern Washington University, is transferring to Washington State as a graduate transfer. I have sources, players on both teams, Washington and Eastern. Fact, it's happening. I don't mean to break the story. I'm not really interested in breaking the story as much as I'm interested in what does this mean? Why is this happening? What does this mean for Washington State? What does it mean for Eastern Washington? I first want to describe what happened, though, is Gage Gubrud was a senior last season for Eastern Washington.
Yep.
He was a fifth-year player, which means that's after your fifth year, you're done. You can't play any more football.
Done.
He got hurt. That's really important. We can't forget he got hurt. And in his career, he had a great career. Actually, his first start ever at Eastern was the game that Eastern beat Washington State. Weird, interesting fact. But he got hurt in their fifth game of the year at Eastern Washington. Then Eastern Washington went on a long run. They played in the national championship game, which means they played in 15 total games this year.
Right.
According to the NCAA, if you've played in a third of your team's games or fewer, you can be granted a medical gray shirt, which means you can get one more year of eligibility.
Right.
Because they went to the national championship, because they had success without him, 5 of 15 is 1/3 of the season. Technically, by NCAA rule, he should be allowed one more year to play in the NCAA. I think it's going to happen. I think he's going to get that. And so what we're seeing is now, is Gage Gubrud going to Washington State? Is that actually a big deal? So he's going to go. Awesome. In your opinion, you've played against him. You played at Portland State. He played at Eastern. You've played against each other in games. What kind of impact is he going to have with Washington State? Does this even matter?
Whatever quarterback ends up starting for Washington State is going to have an impact just by nature of their offense.
Yeah.
You had what? You had Connor Halliday. You had who was the guy before him? Luke Falk after him. And you had Gardner Minshew.
Yep.
So when you have guys who can understand Leach's offense, a quarterback's going to be successful.
By the design of the offense, the quarterback has an impact. Sure.
Exactly. And whether or not he can do that, I don't know. To me, Gage Gubrud, can't really pronounce his last name.
I think it's Gubrud. Yeah.
He had an excellent year. So 2015 didn't play. 2016, he has Kendrick Bourne, starts for the 49ers.
Yep.
Cooper Kupp starts for the Los Angeles Rams.
Yes.
And a host of other talented players at Eastern Washington.
He had NFL players on his roster.
NFL players on his roster to throw the ball to. So you know those dudes are getting open for him to deliver the ball.
Yeah.
Making the throws easier for him.
Making him look good.
Right. And so he had a 67% completion percentage, threw for like 5,700 yards, something ridiculous like that, 48 touchdowns and only 14 picks. More picks still than I'd like to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had an excellent year. And him and Cooper Kupp were up for Walter Payton Player of the Year, which is the highest honor for FCS football.
Yeah.
So he had an incredible year. Kendrick Bourne and Cooper Kupp leave. Completion percentage drops to 61%. He only has 26 TDs and then has 12 picks and only 3,000 yards.
Yeah.
So production dramatically drops off.
As the talent dropped off.
Right. And it's not to knock him, but there was a lot of throws he was missing, a lot of throws he was unwilling to make, and whether that's due to not trusting his receivers as much or the scheme, whatever you want to say, there was a drop-off in his performance.
I'm comfortable knocking him. Look, I'm a Washington State fan. I went there for a year and a half. My room is decked out. This is you're literally drinking out of a Washington State cup. Like this, I don't hate Washington State. I get that. I actually, for a while when I was there, I decided to not talk about them anymore because I got hate from football players in my classes. But I'll say this. I don't think Gage Gubrud makes a huge impact for Washington State.
I don't think so either.
I was at the game. I worked at the game, Eastern Washington, Washington State this last year. Eastern had people open that couldn't get the ball because Gage was inaccurate with throws.
Right.
They should have put up more points and potentially beaten Washington State. But their quarterback, Gage Gubrud, wasn't accurate enough to deliver the ball and operate their scheme. Another interesting wrinkle is the people I've talked to, players on both teams, is it looks like Gage reached out to Washington State. It doesn't look like they wanted him. It looks like he wanted them. And it's a weird situation because Eric Berrier, Eastern's backup quarterback, came in. They were better with the backup. And it makes Gage look kind of bad that without him, the team got better. Went to the national championship. I think this is a guy saying, I want to play again. I'm going to figure it out. I got somewhere to go.
Right.
He had options. He could have gone to Utah. Utah is Troy Taylor is the offensive coordinator at Utah. His last job was Eastern Washington, coaching Gage Gubrud.
Yep.
If he believed in Gage Gubrud, he would have said, "Hey, come play at Utah." He didn't really want him.
Yeah.
And so I'm not convinced that Gage Gubrud is really a huge deal. I don't know. I think honestly, if you want to be an NFL quarterback, which I imagine he thinks he can be, I don't know. It seems like a great guy. I would have gone to Utah. I think Utah's a better culture, better coach. I think he chose Washington State out of desperation, not because they really wanted him. And that's a big, big issue.
I think he chose Washington State, or was looking at Washington State, just simply because of the fact, like we talked about, the Washington State quarterback has so much command over the offense, has so many different options, and their scheme, it makes the quarterback look absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And coming off of injury, getting a job back from a quarterback who just went to a national championship, very hard to do. Trying to earn that back and then earn back the locker room, because as a quarterback, you have to have the locker room on your side. To earn back the locker room, I mean, there's a lot of things that are challenging there. And it's not to say he's stepping away from adversity by any means, because sometimes you just have to go find another opportunity.
Yeah.
And I don't think Utah's the pick, and I think part of the reason why his old offensive coordinator might not have wanted him is maybe he saw those things, like the inaccuracy in passing.
Yeah.
But also, Utah's quarterback is talented.
Tyler Huntley.
And their scheme is, like you mentioned, it's centered around ball control, being conservative, and they want their quarterback to be able to make plays with his legs, which Huntley can do.
And Gage can't, I don't think the same ability.
Not anywhere near the same ability. So I think that I wouldn't say it's as much as their offensive coordinator didn't want him. I just don't think Gabe fits the scheme and what they want to do at Utah.
I think he also looks at Washington State and the guys they have there. The two top quarterbacks at Washington State right now are Anthony Gordon and Trey Tinsley. Mm-hmm. I've been around the program. I don't get the sense they like me very much because I'm honest about them. They're knuckleheads. They don't really get things done. Trey Tinsley had in the San Jose State game. Trey Tinsley had a chance to go in the game. His knee pads weren't properly aligned, and he missed out his opportunity. So instead goes Anthony Gordon, throws an interception. And I watched throughout the season, there were times where Anthony Gordon wasn't on the travel team, and he's out partying, posting pictures. Look, dude, live your life, whatever. But when your team's literally playing a football game and you're posting at the same time parties, I just don't think that's the guy to lead your program. It's personal. I don't know.
Right.
But I don't look at Anthony Gordon as the answer. I don't think Trey Tinsley's the answer. And I don't even think Gage Gubrud's the answer. I don't think anybody. I think Washington State's in trouble at quarterback next year. I could be wrong.
They're bringing in a freshman recruit. I can't remember his name.
He's an early enrollee. A guy from California.
Something Cooper.
Oh, that's Cam Cooper. No, he was there last year. Cam Cooper's a left-handed kid from Utah. He was on the roster, got long hairs there last year. They have an early enrollee, a guy from California. I forget his name. I don't really care. It might be Cam Cooper. They might start young, have him as a sophomore, get 3 years with him.
Yeah, I think Cam and Cooper can end up being the dude for him.
Yeah. Makes sense to me. Here's the advantage with Cam and Cooper is you get more years with him.
Yeah, you get more years with him, which I don't think has proved to be incredibly, incredibly important.
I think it does, because if you have a senior
for Leach's system,
sure, but if you have a senior and a sophomore tied, why not go with a younger guy to get more out of him later? His ceiling's higher because you get more years with him. I would think. Technically, I don't think Leach really cares. I think Leach wants whoever can run the offense to the best
Leach will play
ability.
Whoever is best. It does not matter whether you're a senior, because he had the. I'm not sure how much better Minshew was than the other quarterbacks. You watched more. You were much more involved in the Washington State football, but Minshew only had 1 year.
Yeah.
And he was willing to start him because he gave him the best chance. And I think that's what Leach is going to do. Whoever gives you the best chance is who's going to play.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting. If you go back to Gage Gubrud and Gardner Minshew, the difference was Washington State went out and pursued Gardner Minshew. They said, we're in trouble. We need a guy who understands the air raid system. I think it's a lot more the case that Gage Gubrud reached out to Washington State. I will say this. I hope Gage succeeds. I mean no ill will. I'm sure he's a great guy. People say he's got a great understanding of football. They say he's really nice. It's also worth noting he got arrested at Eastern Washington. He had some problems with that. I'll say it. Look, nobody expected Gardner Minshew, the graduate transfer at Washington State last year, to have the year he had.
Not at all.
And it's possible the same thing happens with Gage Gubrud. I'm not convinced that will. I would be surprised if he had a great year. But look, it's happened before. Maybe it happens again.
To me, it's up in the air. Obviously, I wish him success. You never want to wish anything negative upon somebody.
Yeah, I agree.
But just seeing the drop-off from having Kendrick Bourne and Cooper Kupp to not as much talent and kind of seeing his performance drop off, I don't know where he's going to be at. So
they were
an FCS playoff team.
Yeah.
And then that following year, they didn't make the playoffs.
When he didn't have the help, they didn't make the playoffs. And then when he got hurt, they did and went to the national championship. Eric Berry's a great quarterback. He's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate doing this. It makes me feel uncomfortable. I really don't like self-promotion. It makes me feel like a used car salesman, but I got to do it. So if you don't know, this is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports. It's my favorite thing in the world. And you can subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud. You can find it on YouTube. You can find the full entire hour-long podcast on YouTube. You can also find shorter breakout clips like the one you just watched. Please do me a favor. If you like anything I had to say, maybe you hate me and you're mad about something, share this podcast with your friends. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to do. Help me grow by telling your friends about this show.